we drink a lot of tea in my house. And in the summer, I really like to grow things that I can produce my own tea from. Then I know that it's chemical free, and I also just get to enjoy having fragrant herbs around in the garden. So today I'm going to talk about the things that I like to grow the most for tea making in Flagstaff. So these are things that do well here and are also tasty for tea or have some benefits. The first one I'm going to start with is a little more difficult to find, but its tea is in the name. So this is Navajo tea. There are a couple of different names for this, and there are a few different species that different tribes in this area use. It's a pretty mild flavor. I would say it's somewhat similar to green tea, and it depends if you brew it a really strong brew with a lot of it. It has a lot more of that kind of like bitter tea flavor. It's really good for I know it's really good for digestion. And it's been traditionally used for general health benefits in this area for hundreds, if not thousands of years. I believe it's a short-lived perennial. It's a little difficult to find. I would suggest we grow some of it. I know that probably some growers will have it at the Master Gardener sale. And I believe it's sometimes available at the Arboretum, which now has an open nursery several days a week. The next one is also a native. This is our native white yarrow. And if you're familiar with this plant, it does kind of spread and take over. You can use the leaves or the blooms in tea, and it's really good, especially for women during that time of the month. Just makes everything a little more comfortable. It's also just tasty. I like it. And usually I end up using the leaves since it only blooms certain times of year. That's a relatively easy one to grow. Perennial spreads. So be careful. If you go ahead and put that in your yard, you might end up with quite a bit of it. This is not a native and it is an annual. So this is sweet Thai basil. And I grow this in containers so that if we get a late freeze, I can go ahead and bring it into the greenhouse or into the house. And just one plant will form a pretty good size. Will be pretty good size by the time it's mature. And it's got a really wonderful sweet smell to it. It's beneficial for helping you regulate your blood sugar levels. And this is something that usually at the end of the season I'll go ahead and harvest whatever is left that I haven't used fresh, and then keep it dried throughout the winter season. This is fennel. Fennel is, the flavor of it is very similar to licorice. We do have a native licorice, but it doesn't taste like what you think of as licorice. That's, I believe, a European variety, and it's difficult to grow it here. So this is like a drought-tolerant alternative. It has similar health benefits. It's also good for digestion. You can use the seeds. Usually if you buy a fennel tea, it's the seeds, but you can also harvest the leaves fresh, and they also have that licorice flavor. This can live for decades in your yard. The pollinators like it. It's got a lot of good benefits, so that's something that I would definitely recommend. This is stinging nettle. So it does literally sting you if you touch the spines on it. But it has a lot of health benefits. Usually people will put it in like a nutritive tea. I use it for allergies. So if I grow this and harvest it and I drink the tea regularly during allergy season, it helps a lot with my allergies. It's just a matter of making sure that I'm staying on top of it, because usually I start neglecting myself about halfway through allergy season. This is our native hop vine. Hops are not the tastiest tea, but they are really soothing as a tea. It's pretty bitter flavor-wise, but of course you can also use it in other ways. You can brew beer with it. The native version is a little more bitter than cultivated varieties. Both grow well here. You just need to make sure that if you get a plant for tea making, that it's the female plant, because they can be male or female. If you buy a cultivated variety, it is a clone, and so you know it's a female clone. If you buy them from us when they're seed grown, we put a couple in there, but there's always a chance that you'll get 2 males. But it's the flowers that you harvest and use for medicinal purposes. We put it in salves and things too, and you can also use it. People put it in like little pillows that they sleep next to. And if you're having trouble sleeping because of stress, then it can be really helpful with that. Lemon balm is a very small one. We haven't gotten them very big yet this year. It's like a lemony mint. It's in the mint family. They can kind of take over as well. If you put them in an area, they don't generally spread through roots, but the plant gets pretty large and then it seeds all over the place. It has like a lemony, not very minty flavor, but more of a lemony flavor to it. It's really nice in teas. It's also just really nice to have in your garden because the smell is really pleasant when you brush against it. Pretty easy to grow. I'd put it in a shadier spot if you were going to grow it in your yard. This is a very small chamomile. This is for our garden, so I've just started it, getting it moved up into bigger pots now. This little plant will produce a pretty good sized plant, probably about yay big, yay tall, and a decent number of little flowers on it. They are really fun for the kids. The kids like to go along and harvest the flowers as they kind of reach their peak bloom. And it's another one that's really nice for, well, we use them as a tea, but I'll also put them in the kids' bath at night and things too, because it's soothing in that way also. But it's another herb that's really good for calming, preparing you for bed or just relieving stress. And we grow this every year, just in a pot. Usually I'll have this and I'll have my sweet Thai basil together. And then it's nice. I can just kind of periodically harvest those fresh, and those two go pretty well together. So I would definitely recommend that. Spearmint is another herb that does really well in Flagstaff. It's perennial, but it does spread pretty aggressively if it's in an area that's well irrigated. Sometimes in an area that's not even very well irrigated, they can kind of take over. So I keep mine in a pot, and I just have to remember to water it a little bit more regularly to keep it happy. They seem to do better with part sun, but I've seen them grow in really hot sunny areas and do just fine as well. And that's a nice herb because it's a nice tea herb because it's something that you can just go harvest, and you can make like a cold tea with it where you just put it out in the sun, or you can make a hot tea with it. And you get a lot with all of these herbs. There's greater value to them medicinally and flavor wise if you're harvesting them fresh and using them right away than if you have to dry them. So that's another one of the wonderful things about growing your own tea herbs, is that you're gonna notice that the flavor is a lot more enjoyable, I guess, when you get them fresh. Where did I put that? Oh. Elderberry is a large commitment if you want to use that for teas. So I use the elderberry flowers. They have a really nice sweet flower flavor. And they're easy to collect and make like a sun tea, or you can make a hot tea with them. The berries are highly medicinal, but some people have a bad reaction to the berries if they eat them too raw, so you would have to use like a hot steep in order to get around that, and you might try a little bit and just make sure you don't have a negative reaction to it. If you want berries, you need either 1 native elderberry or 2 cultivated elderberries. The cultivated elderberries produce more fruit, but it's of lower medicinal value than the native one. But the flowers from either are still very good. So if you just want to use the flowers in tea, you don't need to get 2 elderberry varieties. You can just get 1, and they produce their flowers usually late spring, early summer. So hopefully that inspires you to try growing some of your own tea herbs this year. It's definitely, if you're new to it, I would stick with things that are easier to grow. Usually the cold hardy perennials are a lot easier to grow than trying to do the frost tender herbs like the sweet Thai basil and the chamomile. But anyway you want to go, a lot of these are widely available herbs, so you can buy them from us. Several of them are going to be available at most of the nurseries and hardware stores as well. Just remember that if you're going to be harvesting them fresh, that you want to make sure that you want to make sure that the source that you get them from, either you've given them enough time that any chemicals used on them have been washed off, or that the place that you're getting them from does not use anything that could potentially be harmful to your health on those plants. I'm not someone who feels like everything you need to get should be organic from the very start, or else you're causing, or you're really getting away from the health benefits of those things. Most of the chemicals that they spray on plants within the large-scale nursery industry will break down or wash away within just a few weeks, but just keep that in mind if you're getting it and you're going to plan on harvesting it, that there could potentially be things on that you'll want to go ahead and wash off. The general rule of thumb for harvesting from these plants is you want to take less than 1/3 of the total plant when you're harvesting. I usually try and stick more with like 1/10 of the plant, and you can definitely tell if you're stressing the plant out by harvesting too much from it. And also remember, once our freezes are on the way, it makes sense, if they're herbs that you can dry, to just go ahead and harvest everything before our first hard freeze, because once that freeze hits, a lot of those herbs are going to be unusable after that. So there are exceptions to that. Some of our cold hardy herbs are going to be fine through early light freezes. Things like mint will be just fine. But just keep in mind, it's not a bad idea to harvest and store a lot of these herbs as well.